of yet another African-American man, George Floyd's, his murder, is why the country has given us the opportunity to lead. And my friends on the other side just said no. See, as a black guy, I know how it feels to walk into a store and have the little clerk follow me around, even as a United States Senator. I get that. I've experienced that. I understand the traffic stops. I understand that when I'm walking down the street and some young lady clutches onto her purse, and my instinct is to get a little further away because I don't want any issues with anybody. I understand that. But what I missed in this issue is that the stereotyping of Republicans is just as toxic and poison to the outcomes of the most vulnerable communities in this nation. That's the issue.
That was Senator Tim Scott's very powerful speech on the Senate floor today after Democrats blocked the Senate Republicans' police reform bill. He joins us with reaction along with fellow South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator Graham, he might be giving you a run for your money in Kavanaugh there, and I mean this. First of all, Senator Scott, nobody should be followed in any store because of the color of their skin. That's got to stop. What happened to George Floyd can't happen to any human being. Nobody should be stopped either. Most Americans, 90% of good Americans agree with that. You met with the president, you talked to the chief of staff, Mark Meadows. You were on the ground asking for the reforms, and as I understand it, my sources tell me everything you asked for was in this bill and more?
Absolutely. I tell you, the president's response to this situation has been nearly perfect. I asked for certain things in the executive order. He went further. I didn't ask for a national database. I thought that was outside of our reach. The president said, I want to solve this problem. And he did. All we needed to complement the president's executive order was the Democrats to show up and be counted. Just a few Democrats, not 46, just 7 Democrats. And we couldn't get 7 people to come to the table and say they're serious about police reform. Instead, what they're serious about is using police reform as a campaign issue this November. That is despicable.
And what did Joe and Barack do after Ferguson, after Baltimore, after Cambridge, after all these? Did they do anything, Senator? Because I don't remember them doing a thing.
Not that I can recall, but I do remember one thing that Joe Biden did in 1994. He passed a crime bill that his Democrat opponent said locked up disproportionately African-American men, and it took President Trump to come along through the First Step Act and reverse the carnage, the damage, the disrespect done to the black community. He reversed it. President Trump made up for the bad decisions of Vice President Biden.
You know, I got to get out of New York. I'm stuck with Schumer and Gillibrand. I could have Senator Scott and Senator Lindsey Graham, and I'd be very happy. Senator, they haven't done a thing, and I know you are very close as friends, both of you. And I watched this today, and I'm like, they won't even help the president on this? Is there anything they'll do?
Well, if you're talking to me, Sean, they'll do whatever it takes to get power. If you need to destroy Brett Kavanaugh's life to keep the seat open, they'll do it. What I did was help Kavanaugh, a single individual being unfairly accused and being mistreated and having his life turned upside down, to make sure they could fill the Supreme Court vacancy. What Tim did today is, in the face of hatred you cannot believe, I got a lot of things thrown my way during Kavanaugh. It was pretty dicey. Nothing compared to what Tim Scott has gone through. What have I learned about Tim Scott? He speaks from the heart, he can't be intimidated, and he's trying to solve a problem. He's experienced things I have not experienced because I'm white. I'm from South Carolina, Tim's from South Carolina, and Tim took to the floor of the United States Senate today to make it better, particularly for young black men, and Chuck Schumer basically told us to go to hell we care more about the election than we do working with Senator Scott. Probably a low point in my career, right on par with Kavanaugh.
You know something, Senator Scott? I like to look at Joe Biden's been in politics nearly 50 years. You mentioned his past. What about his past on segregation and praising Robert Byrd? He hasn't, right? That's his past. Also, Lyndon Johnson counted on Republicans for the 64 Civil Rights Act, the 65 Voting Rights Act. And I'm looking at, okay, well, Barack and Joe gave us 17 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 million more in poverty, the lowest labor participation rate since the 70s, the worst recovery since the 40s, the lowest home ownership rate in 51 years, and Donald Trump gave us record low unemployment for every demographic group, including African Americans and African American youth, opportunity zones that they didn't give us in the 8 years they had power. Add to that criminal justice reform, add to that now prison reform, historically black colleges. I like actions, you know.
And higher labor force participation rate in the African American community. Not only did we have unemployment under 6% for the first time under President Trump for African Americans, we had the lowest unemployment rate pre-COVID-19 for African Americans, for Hispanics, for Asians, a 60-year low for women. We had this economy on fire because President Trump understands that free markets lead to great opportunities for everybody. Literally, all the votes were rising. This is what's so frustrating. The Democrats continue to have a monopoly on minority votes, and they continue to deliver nothing in return for the monopoly. It's a devaluation of a significant part of the American family, and that's got to stop.
I got to move to South Carolina, Lindsay. I don't have very good senators, and we can all go to Hall Steakhouse together.
Amen, and you can pay.
I will. I'll probably get arrested for that.
Workers. Very proud of my friend Tim Scott today. Very proud of him.
I'm proud of both of you. Senator, keep fighting for justice for everybody. We're one America. The President says, what? One glorious nation under God, one united American family. He's making progress. Where's Joe? When we come back, the great one, Mark Levin. He has a lot to say.